What's up, D group?
Hey guys, hope you're all having fun tonight at your leaders' homes or wherever you are.
Today in our announcements, we're going to be talking about applications to our mission trips. We're going to be talking about the winter retreat and this week's rhythm.
Yeah.
Mission applications close January 31st. Make sure to get them in because we want to see you on a mission trip.
Our winter retreat is happening next weekend. Make sure to pop us for some fun in the snow with friends and learn more about Christ.
We're gonna go skiing, tubing, have a broomball tournament. It's gonna be so much fun. Hope to see you there.
Hey, Chapel Street students, I'm Justin. I just wanted to say hey, and I can't wait to be at Expeditions with Scuba and the gang and join forces with you for Winter Retreat 2024. If you are in, way to make the deadline. Thanks for betting on our time seeking Jesus together. You know, Tom and Beth and Alyssa and I have been dreaming and scheming. We're so pumped about all the encouragement and challenge and camaraderie that always come from uber special times like these. And so from this point forward, I'm praying daily, God, help each of us to show up to retreat with a pure, open heart. You want to join me? And we'll all meet up on Groundhog's Day for a weekend we're likely going to wish we could relive over and over and over again. We'll see you soon. Can't wait.
That's all of our announcements for today. So we hope you have a great rest of your week and we'll see you on the winter retreat. Reminder, no D group next week as we'll all be on the winter retreat. See ya!
Well, hey guys, hope you're having a great night tonight in your D groups, and it was so great to be together last week here at our Kesslinger campus. If you're here with us, you know we started a brand new series called Rhythms, where we're really focused this semester on some of the spiritual practices of what does it look like to grow closer to Jesus in our everyday life. And tonight in our D groups, we're going to be focused on week 2 of that series, really talking about sharing the gospel. In a few minutes, we're going to be led by a guest speaker who many of you guys know and love. Clark Giansanti will be joining us on this video soon. But before we go over to Clark, and if you don't know him, he'll introduce himself a little bit as well. But before we pass it over to Clark, I just want to start tonight by kind of rooting this conversation and sharing the gospel in Scripture. And so leaders, you guys have in your leader guide a verse to read in Matthew 28 and a couple questions to discuss just for a few minutes as we kind of think about this topic of sharing the gospel. And so, just praying for you guys as you dive into this really important conversation and have opportunities to kind of practice what it looks like to share the gospel, and praying for you as you dive into Matthew 28 and talk about this great commission that Jesus gives us to go and make disciples of all nations. So love you guys. See many of you next week on Winter Retreat, and if not, we'll see you soon.
Yo, what's up, Chapel Street D Group? I'm so stoked to be able to share a little message with you guys. But before that, if you don't know me, my name is Clark Giansanti. My amazing brother, Trent Giansanti, is a senior at Geneva, and he's in Chapel Street D Groups. Shout out to Trent and his D Group. But Tom Ward, your amazing pastor, reached out to me saying that you guys are talking about the gospel these past couple of weeks. Not only talking about what is the gospel, but also cultivating the skill in sharing the gospel. So that's why Pastor Tom reached out to me, because he offered me an opportunity just to spend some time with you guys to help be able to develop your guys' skills in sharing the gospel and being confident in the story of Jesus Christ. So as Pastor Tom just shared with you guys in in-depth explanation of what the gospel is, I thought I would just offer a real quick, kind of summary just so you can hear it again, because like Pastor Tom told me, you can never hear the gospel too many times. So the gospel is the story of God's love for us, redeeming us from our sin. In the beginning, God created the world and everything in it. God created male and female and all the animals, and he said that it was good. But Adam and Eve, the very first humans, decided to disobey God, and this is where sin entered into the story. The word sin means basically anything against God. And since Adam and Eve sinned, they were separated from God. This perfect relationship that God had with humans was separated and crushed. And because of this, God later sent his one and only Son to die on a cross to actually take the punishment of sin, because the consequence of sin is death. And so Jesus took on all of sins, and he died on the cross. But 3 days later, he rose from the dead, conquering sin, appeasing the wrath of God, so that people like me and you can be in a relationship with him. As he rose from the dead, he conquered sin, and he ascended to heaven to someday come again to be able to gather all of his people to be able to live with him forever in heaven. That's just a short little summary of what the gospel is, and in the next couple of minutes, you'll have plenty of time to be able to practice that. So I'm going to kind of explain a couple of drills, you could say. I know I'm a sports person, so my mind always thinks about, like practice or sports. And one thing in sports is we do drills. We practice something over and over in a safe environment. So in an unknown environment, we can be confident in our skill. So tonight, we're practicing sharing the gospel, which is the most important thing that we get to do, not only to understand ourselves, but to share as we are the church and expanding God's kingdom here on earth. So our first drill that we're going to start off with is, hopefully you guys have either a journal or your phone with you, and we're just going to set a 5-minute timer. And the whole entire purpose during this time is what you're going to do is on your own, you are going to think out, what is the gospel? You just heard Pastor Tom explain it. You probably have heard it before. And also, you just heard me say a quick little summary. So in this 5 minutes, you are just going to be by yourself, just your thoughts, and just write out by hand, preferably, or with your phone, what is the gospel? What is the story of Jesus Christ? So right now, you're just going to gather all your stuff, get ready, take a deep breath with me, and your 5 minutes to write out what the gospel is starts now. Okay, so we've spent those 5 minutes writing out the gospel. Now what is going to happen is we want to be able to process this with other people. So grab a buddy next to you, one or two other people, and just share what you wrote down. Not only share, but listen. Listen to what your partner or partners wrote down as well, and offer a little feedback. Did they leave Jesus on the cross? Did they forget to say that Jesus rose from the dead? Sometimes when sharing the gospel, we forget that Jesus didn't just die on the cross. More importantly, he rose from the dead. Try to think out those big key points that Pastor Tom had mentioned, and explain to each other in a loving, kind way. I think you forgot this, or you did a really good job saying this. Just reflect with each other. So spend the next couple of minutes just reflecting with each other. And when you're done, I'll see you. Good job, everyone, reflecting, listening, and offering advice. Hopefully, you guys were able to feel a little bit more confident. Now what we're going to do is we're kind of going to speed things up, okay? So last time you had 5 minutes to write out what the gospel is. Now we are just going to do a minute. So in your mind, kind of think, okay, you got less time. What is the most important things to write down about the gospel? If you only got 1 minute to share with someone, what is the gospel? What are you going to write down? Take a deep breath with me. All right, your minute timer starts now. Perfect. Now what you're going to do is same thing as before. You're going to reflect with that same partner or partners and just reflect. Did you leave something out that you really think is really, really important? like saying that we get to forever live with God in heaven, or that the punishment of sin is death? What are those crucial things that you think are important that maybe you left out or your partner did? And lovingly share and encourage each other in your 1-minute presentation. Okay, our next drill. This is going to be really, really quick. You're going to have just 30 seconds or so to write one word to 3 words, kind of sum up the gospel. So just 1 to 3 words, and that's it. What is that summary statement of the gospel? And we're doing all this because it's good practice. We're honing in our skills of remembering what the gospel is, the most important story, the good news. So you got 30 seconds to write 1 to 3 words summing up the gospel. Take a deep breath with me. Here we go. Awesome. Now, reflect with your partner or as a group, whatever you guys want to do, and just what was their word? What was their couple sentences? Was it grace? Was it belief? What was it? Savior died and rose? 4 words. I don't know. It's tough. Share with your partner, encourage each other, and after you reflect, I got one more thing to do. All right. Our very last drill that we are going to do and just practicing the story of the Gospels, we're actually going to verbally share it with someone. So your leaders have a couple of different scenarios that you guys are going to practice out with your partners. So what do these scenarios look like? Basically, you're going to get a group of you're going to get with one other person or two, whatever your partners have been being, and you're going to kind of get assigned a role. And so you're going to play role play. So like one of the scenarios could be, pretend you're having a conversation with one of your teammates or classmates. This is someone that you've known for a while, and you feel like it is time to share the good news, what you believe, and your testimony. You're going to enter into that scenario, and you are going to share the gospel, and your partner or partners are going to be that friend. So they may ask you questions, and I encourage the people who are in that role to do that. Pretend like you don't know who God is, and ask questions to the person explaining the story. This is very important that I have commonly realized I've made a mistake in, but you know those Christianese words like grace, resurrection even, wrath, or I'm blanking on sin. Sin's a huge one. Don't just assume that they know what those words mean. Explain them. Sin is anything against God. Wrath is, great hatred against something. Explain those Christianese words, what grace is, what belief is. Don't just assume that they know. So, friends, you're going to spend the next couple of minutes or so working out these scenarios. If you are the person explaining the gospel, explain it in a way where an actual person would be able to understand. And if you're someone listening, you're in the other role, ask good questions. Challenge your friend. Remember, we are doing this because we're practicing sharing the gospel in a safe environment so that when we are in an unknown environment, we can feel confident in our skills expressing the greatest news ever. Hey, you guys are awesome. High five your neighbor next to you. And I hope that you guys have a great, awesome D group. Peace.